Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at my most underrated knife of all of 2021, and it's brought to you by White Mountain Knives. Be sure to check them out for all of your knife and EDC needs. Use this code right here, WSW10, for 10% off your entire purchase from White Mountain Knives. Now, what knife is that? Well, you saw it on the thumbnail. This is none other than the Kizer Horn. Now, when this knife came out, my first initial thought was, oh my God, it's ugly. It's a very ugly knife. As time went on, no one really recommended it. No one said I have to check it out. Didn't see it on a lot of review tables. So I thought, yeah, I guess it was just an ugly knife that wasn't that good. A couple months down the road, I'm looking for content. I'm like, I've got to find something different, something that, a good brand that people know I like, and, something that I think everyone else would like. And as I was scrolling through, I came across this thing, and I thought, you know what? The time has come. Let's pick it up. Let's see if I was right. Things always look different in person, let me tell you. And, this is an example of that, but regardless, looks aside, there is so much to talk about this knife. I'm really surprised there hasn't been more talk about it within the community, especially a knife this affordable. We're going to go over that and more here in just a second, but first, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's go over some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 7.60 inches with a blade length coming in at 3.17 inches, a cutting edge right at 3 inches with a blade width of 1.25 inches. Blade thickness on this guy is 0.11 inches. Blade material being N690 with a Wharncliffe style blade. I'm not necessarily disagreeing. I just see all sorts of different things in this blade. It's kind of crazy, but nonetheless a Wharncliffe blade with a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.375 inches, a handle thickness at 0.47 inches, a handle width of 1 inch, handle material, some very nice micarta. We have a locking mechanism of a liner lock with a user of a right or left hand tip-up carry, a weight coming in at 4.1 ounces, and a price of only $62. $62. You cannot, it's hard to beat $62. I'm not going to say you can't, but it's really hard when you get this knife in hand because it's a wowzer. But let's take a look at some overall size comparisons here and see just exactly what we have. Just got a couple here for you. This one is probably enough for most people. This is the Spyderco Para 3. And then we also have the Civivi Elementum, just because probably half the people in the knife community own one. And that gives you a good idea right there. So as you can see, it's actually longer than the Para 3, longer than the Elementum. So yeah, there you go. In terms of width and overall, size and hand, it's kind of like the Para 3 in a very odd way. More so when you do something to it that I'm going to show you here in just a second. When we get to a certain feature of the knife, I don't want to give it away. Some people may know this. I did not know this until I got the knife, and I'm talking about something that you don't even know what I'm talking about, but we'll talk about it in just a second, I promise. And lastly, just because I had it sitting on the table, here is the Giant Mouse Ace Biblio. And as you can see, the Biblio is significantly smaller than this. This is not a very small knife, guys. It's definitely a medium-sized knife, I would say. So there's your size comparisons. Now, God, let's talk about this knife. I am so surprised by this knife in just about every way one could be. The blade, it does start with the blade. It's one of the most unique looking blades I've ever seen. And it wasn't so much, I want to go back to my ugly statement. Because when I said this knife was ugly, it's kind of hard to describe how I thought it was ugly because the blade was kind of neat. I wasn't sure about this extra cut it like halfway milled out area in the blade. I just wasn't sure how the actual blade and handle meshed together. To be honest, what it looked like to me, have you guys ever seen Tremors? It looks like one of those alien worm things off Tremors. I really think it does. Just has kind of that weird, like, kind of chubby, somewhat narrowed end, like the back of one. And then the front up here, it's got its, its gnarly little Warncliffe reverse Tonto-ish tip, which kind of just, I literally saw a tremor, and that was very weird, but that's what I saw. So let me know, does this look like a tremor from Tremors to you? Is it going after Kevin Bacon? I don't know. Hopefully this one won't fall off the end of a cliff, though, so really don't want that to happen. But you also have a very slicey edge on this guy, coming in at 15 thousandths behind the edge. So yeah, it's a slicey guy. It is a slicer for sure. And back to that tip. It's such a nice, unique tip that isn't really super dainty. Got cat hair on my finger. Not super dainty, but still a nice slicey tip. A full flat grind, very short flat grind because of the way the blade is cut, but nonetheless, it works just fine, and it works really good. It's a very nice tip for any type of digging, little precise cuts. Very nice there. You also have excellent jimping on this spine, and lots of it. It's not just that little bit right here. You got the whole spine of this guy until it starts to slope down to put that thumb, and it absolutely works 100%. Love this jimping. And this is a prime example. You have all this jimping, and it does not, in my opinion, does not affect the aesthetics of the knife one bit. Does nothing but add a little more extra grippy area for your thumb to land, whether you put your thumb here or here or here. It doesn't matter because you're getting all that jimping, and it just works so darn good. Love the way they put the jimping on that spine. Also, a very, very nice cutout on the blade. We'll get to that more when we get to the action, but you can't ask for much more than this when you need a form of deployment via middle finger flicking. This is a very, very good one indeed. And last, you have a very interesting flipper tab. Now, why do you think this is interesting? Because it just looks like a regular flipper tab. Well, no, you can remove it right there. And we will do that later in the episode or later in the review. It's a review and an episode. It could be whatever you want it to be. But yes, we're going to take this off, and this is a game changer, you guys. This is an absolute game changer. Definitely the most unique feature of this knife. There's been reverse or removable flipper tabs in the past, but this one makes a much bigger difference than the ones I know of. And a lot of it has to do with the ergos, because the ergos, they're good as is. I have really no complaints with the ergos as is. As you can see, it's easily a full 4-finger grip. No real hot spot from the clip. The clip is very nice. It works in every way you could imagine. Looks pretty good. Wish it was stonewashed and not satin, but regardless, no real issue with it. And they only get better when you take this flipper tab off. Now, I'm going to leave the flipper tab on until we get to the action, because I want to show you the action portion of the flipper tab, but then we'll take it off and I'll show you just what I mean, because it absolutely completely changes the ergos of this knife from really good to absolutely fantastic when you remove that flipper tab. I also really love the micarta on this guy. It is just, regular tan linen micarta. But if you've had this type of micarta before in the past from Kizer, you'll notice one thing that I noticed right out of the bat. Let me close this here, and let me pull in the Kizer Lieb. This is the Kizer Lieb, and as you can see here, let me just show you the Lieb first. See that shine? See that shine on this micarta? I don't like that. I really don't like that. I love this knife. This knife is absolutely fantastic. One of the best fifth pocket knives you can get. But it's shiny. It has kind of a plasticky finish look, but you still see the grain. It still looks like micarta, so I still like it, but I really don't like the fact that it has that sheen. Now, you don't have that with this. This does not have that sheen. This is straight micarta, so it has more of a matte finish. It has a better grip on it. Overall, I think this is going to patina fantastically. All these little roughed out edges you see will go away as the oils from your skin soak into it, and this is going to just be even better over time. But without that sheen, without that sheen that you get with the beg lighter. I'm just so glad you don't have that on this horn. So I really, really do like this micarta even more than other Kizer micartas. And you also have, as I said, that clip. I'm going to go back to that again real quick because it does just, it looks good. It's not a recessed clip, but it's recessed screws. That's all I really need. That's going to do the job for me just fine. And I think I'm going to try this with this clip. I had a viewer a while back on Instagram. He did some type of like sanding. He took some very fine sandpaper and did just a light sanding on the clip, and it gave it an incredible hand rub look. I mean, it looked like a straight up like Sharp by Design Brian Nadeau clip. The finish on it looked amazing. And it looks so much better than this satin clip without the sheen and shine. So I'm definitely think I'm going to try that with this. I'm probably going to terribly fail at it, but I might try with another clip before I do this one because I like this knife too much. I don't want to mess up this clip and not have a replacement for it. But outside of the satin finish, clip that works great, goes over all my pocket hems, really good retention, not too much, but there is enough. And just really good in hand, no hot spots, no nothing. So no issues with the clip whatsoever. And lastly, very nice access to the liner lock. It just works in pretty much every way a liner lock could work. It's exposed, move it in, blade comes down, falls shut, or very lightly shake shut, and you're good to go. Now let's get into the action, which is one of the best parts about this knife, because the detent, guys, this is another one. This is better than most Civivis I've ever handled, ever. I know I've raved about Civivi detents in the past, but Kizer has now perfected it. I've always thought and said, I think I've said it in the past, that I feel like Civivi has perfected the budget detent. Nope, that I'm stripping them of that award and giving it to Kizer. This is just so darn good. It has a nice crisp click. The blade flies out, and you really feel inside the pivot area, you really feel just a nice feel of stabilization, I guess is the best way to put it. Because the way the blade closes, it's like there is not even a skosh of a wiggle. I mean, it is absolutely stabilized and sat in there perfectly. I don't know. I don't think there's any super precise machining done on this because it is just a $62 budget knife, but there is just, it feels so much nicer than you would expect it to on the close. It's just fantastic. And that flipper, it flies out. You can really, this knife is a great one to push button. It flies out when you push button it. And of course, you can light switch it, and it really works just as nice. Whatever you prefer, you're going to be very, very satisfied with the action. But now let's get into the fun part of taking this flipper tab off. Because here you go, guys. You see the ergos, you saw the flipping action, both great. But now let's take the tab off with this Weha bit right here. This is just a number 6. Just kind of move it around till you find the hole. We're still talking about disassembling this knife. Get your minds out of the gutters. And we're gonna just keep screwing and screwing and screwing, and then like, there it goes. So there's the flipper tab, and then there's the screw. So, and it's really, it's pretty slick the way they did that. As you can see, there's indentation on one side, and that you kind of see that line if you were looking real hard earlier in the video before I mentioned that. And then that screw. So keep these together in case you want to put it back on there, because there's a very good chance you may want to do that because the flipping action is so good. But now, look at that. Excellent ergos. You don't have that flipper tab in your way. It's easier to close without that flipper tab hitting your thumb when you close the liner lock. And now it's just the middle finger flicker, and yeah. Yep, this is fantastic. Absolutely incredible middle finger flicking action due to that cutout. It's at the perfect angle to where whether you put your finger straight out or angle it up, either way, it works so good. And just listen to this. So crisp, so clicky. Just a great sound, a great action. Everything about this knife, you guys, it's awesome. I don't know. There's something about the looks of a knife that you gotta see it in person before you really knock the aesthetics of a knife. And I've learned that now time and time again. And I am finally coming to the reality that that is a fact, guys. You can't just look at something online because sometimes the lighting or the picture can throw it off a little. I'm a huge fan of this knife. This is by far the most underrated knife of the year, at least under $100 for me. Absolutely the most underrated knife under $100. Maybe the most underrated knife in all of 2021. When you factor in that price, I'd probably say it would. It would be, because for $62, guys, man, for $62, it's really, really, really hard to beat. The only thing that I may like to see on this knife is maybe an upgrade. In my opinion, it would be an upgrade to 14C 28N steel. I do prefer that over N690, but outside of that, N690 is still pretty much good to go. You just, it not going to hold an edge as long as 14C 28N, but it's just a fantastic knife with a very unique look and aesthetic to it, and the freaking action is killer. Whether you're flipping it or middle finger flicking it, it's good. I couldn't be more pleasantly surprised with this knife. It is one that I would absolutely recommend all day, and I'm gonna carry this guy around today and just keep flicking it because it is so damn good. One you should try. Let me know what you think about it, guys. Have you experienced it? What's your favorite Kizer model of the year? I want to know that. What's your favorite Kizer model of the year? Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.